Many people think that there's just one stop sign. There isn't. There's two different kinds of stop signs, and there's completely two different approaches to two-way stop signs and four-way stop sign intersections. And what the rule book says about four-way stop sign intersections and what actually happens at four-way stop sign intersections is completely different. And I had a comment from a smart driver about that very issue this week, saying that, oh, if you get to the four-way stop sign intersection at the same time as another vehicle, it's the vehicle on the right that goes. Believe me, you could ask 100 drivers who have their driver's license, and nobody looks for the driver on the right to determine who has the right of way at a four-way stop sign intersection. Two vehicles go, and I've talked about this previously in terms of social driving. When it comes to social driving, it's me first, you're in my way, and I want to go faster. That's all it is. And one person hesitates, the other person is just going to go. They're just like, oh, you're just hanging around doing nothing. I'm going to go. And they're going to go. And I'm the same. When I get to a four-way stop sign intersection, I come to a stop, I look around, make sure everybody else has stopped, and then I proceed. It's about moving through the intersection as quickly as possible. The reality is that nobody's going to figure out who's on the right. They're just going to go when it's their turn to go at a four-way stop sign intersection. So defensive driving and the road rules and road laws are not one and the same. Oftentimes, your best course of action is not what the road rule states. And as we know, traffic laws no more prevent crashes than criminal law prevents crime. We still have murders, we still have theft, we still have vandalism, even though we have criminal laws in place. We can put all the laws in place we want, and we can keep heaping them on society and heaping them on, but until we have people, police officers, bylaw officers, and other enforcement agencies to police those laws aren't much better than what the paper that they're written on. And Tim will talk to you about this, and I will talk to you about it, and other people who know about the law, that there are two kinds of law. Black letter law, or called statute law, that which is written in the legislation rather, and then there's case law. When the legislation goes to court and lawyers interpret what that means and the judge makes a decision about that, then you get case law. It's the interpretation of the legislation. So that's what we're going to talk a little bit about tonight. Talk about right-of-way rules and those types of things and keeping yourself safe. Tim says sometimes it's easier to make sure that you stop after someone when it looks like you were going to arrive at the same time. And yes, exactly, Tim. And that was the point that I made in the video on four-way stop signs, that if you see somebody else coming to the intersection at the same time, and often you can, it's, you know, the intersection is clear and you can see all four entryways to the intersection. If you just slow down a little bit and let the other person arrive first, boom, they hit there, stop, check the intersection, and then they proceed through the four-way stop sign intersections. Now, in an ideal world, in my professional opinion, we just get rid of these goofy things and put in roundabouts, because roundabouts are far safer than conventional four-way stop sign intersections, and they move more traffic per hour, and they reduce urban noise pollution. So there are huge benefits to roundabouts. Now, saying that at one and the same time, just the other day, bombing down the bottom of the hill here, and there's a roundabout right at the bottom of East Hill here in Vernon. I go through the roundabout, and this woman, saw her clear as day, pulls into the roundabout, and then she looks and she saw me coming and she stops right in front of me in the roundabout. Now, fortunately, I wasn't going very fast, so I just slowed down and came to a stop. But she tore into the intersection, or tore into the roundabout rather, and then looked and went, oh my God, there's somebody there, and then stopped in. Had she just kept going, it would have done exactly what a roundabout was supposed to do. She went through, and then I go through, and you know, traffic just moves efficiently through a roundabout. But she just like looked, and it's like, oh my God, there's a car, and then just stopped. Which in many instances, for new drivers, for people who are inexperienced, if you are unsure of what a situation is going to going to happen in that situation if you don't have enough experience to figure out all the variables that are going on in a dynamic traffic situation. Yes, just come to a stop, because other traffic will move around you, other traffic will come to a stop, and those types of things, and they'll kind of go, wait a minute, something's happened here. So for many new drivers who don't have a great deal of experience with driving, if you have a situation that you don't know how to handle, or you don't see an outcome of the kind of dynamic situation, then yes, that's a good response, is to just stop. But what she did in the roundabout, I was like, oh, okay, that's kind of goofy. I probably said something else too, because social driving. We think we know what we're doing. There we go. Lion, I'm surprised you don't have more subs. Your videos are super helpful, bro. Turkey Lion, I keep trying. I keep making videos. I keep going forward, but we're doing what we're doing. And but maybe I need to do what Mr. Beast does. Is maybe I need to give away money. Tim, BC roundabouts confuse BC drivers. Tim, it's not just BC drivers, it's drivers in North America, period. And of course, traffic engineers aren't helping the situation at all, Tim. And my favorite example is the roundabout cluster. You can put in the word there at the end of that, where they could have put in one big double roundabout, and instead, no, we need 3 roundabouts and an overpass there at the airport in Victoria. Traffic engineers are just like, what the heck is that mess? And that's exactly what it was. It was a mess. Whereas in Europe and other places that they have roundabouts, China and the Middle East and Australia, they just would have put in one huge roundabout, double lanes, and everything would have been fine. But no, we got to put in 3 roundabouts and an overpass. You talk about confusing people. And then, of course, you put it next to a community that is probably 75% senior citizens. Yeah, of course you're going to confuse people. Yadira, very helpful videos. Thank you. You are so welcome. My friend Tyler, I had someone cut me off and blow through a red light. He got the flash. Awesome. But you're okay. That's all that matters. That's great. Corey put up the video on how to drive through roundabouts, and someone left a comment on the roundabout video that it was very long and very verbose. Verbose is a big word that means I talk a lot, and I do talk a lot because this is what I do. It is a long video, too much, and we're working on that. We're fixing that. We're redoing some of the older videos, and the roundabout needs to be done. It needs to be reshot and redone because, yes, it is verbose. There's a lot of extra stuff in there that doesn't need to be in there. Tim says, Google the magic roundabout in the UK. Yes, I'm going to have 5 connected roundabouts. Okay, well, I'll have a look at that, and then we can add that to our list of goofy roundabouts and traffic engineering patterns. So we'll definitely have a look at that. Jim, hello, my friend. How many hours should I practice before I take the driving test? I'm really nervous. Jim, usually I recommend for new drivers going for their on-road test that they do kind of 6 to 8 weeks of practice before they attempt their driver's test. And usually 6 to 8 weeks of practice will get you ready for your driver's test and put you in good shape. If you're really nervous and you have you're lacking a bit of confidence, if you haven't taken driving lessons, I would recommend that you take 1 lesson with a driving instructor, and that will help you out. And the driving instructor will take you on the test route. He or she will give you feedback about your skills, abilities, and techniques for the purposes of passing the driver's test. Because keep in mind, driving instructors teach new drivers how to pass a road test every day. So that's what I would suggest and counsel you to do if you're not already taking driving instruction with an instructor. CN, it's like they've sprinkled nutcase dust over the masses. The driving has gotten out of hand. Yep, and it's not going to get any better, I will tell you that. Jasmine, my boyfriend told me that I need to decrease my driving distance while in the city. I live in Philly, or people will cut in front of me, cut me off. No, that's not true, Jasmine. People will take that space up and they'll go in that space, but they're going faster than you anyway, so just let them carry on with their merry way. Maintain your 3 to 6 second following distance, probably 2 to 4 in a car. But no, don't close up your distance, because if you close up your distance, then you're hoping on a wing and a prayer that you can react in time to the person in front of you. If you have space in front of your vehicle, you have time to work the controls of the vehicle, time to observe the traffic situation in front of you, time to respond accordingly as opposed to reacting, because when we react, we often react badly. So space gives you time. Time allows you to read the traffic situation and to respond in an appropriate manner. Okay? Yadira, can you explain more the rite of passing in an intersection in a two-way stop and a four-way stop? All right. Yadira, at a two-way stop sign intersection, you come up, you stop at the stop line, and then you move forward until you can see the intersection, the cross traffic. And once there is a clear space at the two-way stop sign intersection, then you can proceed through the intersection when the way is clear. Four-way stop sign intersections, you're going to come up, you're going to stop, and you're going to, it's first person to arrive, first person to go. And then there are other rules after that, and these are general rules. Straight through traffic over turning traffic, and left turning traffic over right turning traffic is the right-of-way rules at these two types of intersections. It's also good to work with somebody who has experience at these types of intersections, especially if you're a little bit dubious about, you're not completely sure of how to move through a two-way stop sign intersection and a four-way stop sign intersections. But overall, and Corey will put up the two videos for you on stop sign intersections and how to move through you, and that will give you more information. Lion, I just breathed in and out like you told me. Awesome. That is great, my friend. Gamer, what should I do if I find out the drive-through speaker box is broken at the KFC? Well, first of all, I don't know why you're doing what you're doing at the KFC, because you're a chicken. Bark, bark. Then you got to go to Burger King. That's what you do. Mallory, when roundabouts first came to Prince Edward Island, drivers on Prince Edward Island didn't know how to use the roundabouts. And that's not limited to Prince Edward Island. That's pretty much limited to all of North America. Tyler, if the road is very bumpy, lower your vehicle speed to not damage car suspension or do the speed limit. Yes, that is true. Thank you so much. Okay, we did that. World Peace, do you signal on a three-point turn? Have my test soon. World Peace, yes you do. And Corey has put up the step-by-step instructions for the three-point turn. Definitely have a look at that, my friend. Nutcase Dust, yes, I like that. That's good. Jim, how can I control my speed making a left or right turn, and what would be some good tips I'm going to get? Driver parallel parking and parking next to somebody in the parking lot and backing. Okay, those are all slow speed maneuvers, Jim, and if you start to get better at your parallel parking or getting better at your reverse stall parking, backing into a parking space, those types of things, all of that is going to be to improve your overall driving. So practice the parallel parking, backing into a parking space, your three-point turns. That is going to improve your overall driving. Okay, I'll answer one more question here, and then we'll get over to the PowerPoint presentation, and we'll do that, and then we'll come back and we'll answer any questions after that. All right, Bluffer, hello Rick, good to see you. I was thinking about your saying mirror signal shoulder check. Why do you not signal first, then mirror and shoulder check? Okay, Bluffer, mirror signal shoulder check. It's not, the order really doesn't matter as long as you're doing all three of those things. And oftentimes once you get a bit of experience, you're putting the signal on and you're shoulder checking at the same time anyway. You can do those two things simultaneously, right? Because it's just a matter of flipping your finger down to turn the signal on. So signal, shoulder check, check the mirror. The order doesn't matter. And I'm not going to get bent out of shape out of it, and other instructors really shouldn't get bent out of shape about the order of mirror signal shoulder check either. As long as you make those checks and put your signal on, observe and communicate effectively when you're making lane changes or changing direction of the vehicle, that's all you need to do. All right? Order doesn't matter. All right, so let's head over to the PowerPoint presentation here on dead right driving. We'll get through that, and it's about 10 minutes, and then we'll come back and we'll answer any questions you have about passing a driver's test, being a safer, smarter driver, or starting a career as a truck or bus driver. Will help you with all of that. All right, so dead right driving. For those of you new to Smart Drive Test, my name is Rick August. I was a truck driver in the 1990s, hauling freight between Ontario, Canada, and the United States. I drove buses for Greyhound and one of the regional bus lines there in Australia in the early 2000s while I was going to the University of Melbourne. I worked part-time while I was going to university. So needed to do that because, you know, some of us got to work full-time because we didn't get a scholarship to go to university. Lots of my colleagues, while I was doing my graduate work, were on full scholarships, which made it a lot easier. Certainly would have made it a lot easier for me. I did pretty much whatever I could. Drove coaches, cleaned houses, worked as a tutor, did all kinds of work to try and make ends meet. Became a licensed commercial driving instructor in 1997 in the province of Ontario. Interesting system in Ontario. I don't know whether they've changed this or not, but to teach truck drivers and air brakes, you were certified, but to teach new drivers how to drive a car, you were licensed. So I became certified first to teach truck driving, and of course I couldn't get a job, so then I had to go back and get the license and teach young people how to, not young people, but new drivers how to drive cars. And then I got licensed, and then once that happened, then I was able to get a job as teaching truck driving and teaching air brakes. 2006, graduated with a degree, my doctorate in legal history, which is the study of policing, courts, and prisons. My expertise is in policing as it relates to traffic, and started the Smart Drive Test YouTube channel in 2015, little realizing that I would learn more about traffic and traffic safety, defensive driving, proactive driving, all of those things, because I talk about it every day. I write about it. I make videos about it. So pretty much submerged in the topic of traffic safety and whatnot. So this week I did a video on driving anxiety post-pandemic. I've had a number of smart drivers ask me about anxiety post-pandemic because they worked at home for a couple of years, hadn't been driving, and then they went back to driving now that the pandemic is, subsided. We're not sure whether it's over yet or not, but going back to driving and give them some tips and strategies. And one of the things I noticed on the recent trip to Calgary, which is about 7 hours from here, was that cars were altering their speed in response to the changing infrastructure along the highway. So overpasses, construction areas, well, of course we want them to alter their speed, but I mean they were instead of a consistent speed on hills and near lakes where there was changing sunlight and underpasses and those types of things, they were not keeping a consistent speed, and their speed would change in response to the light configuration along the highways. So this is something else I talk about in the video, so have a look at that. And then as well, defensive driving for new drivers was the new podcast this week, and you can find all those links. I think the links are down in the description. If not, I'll check after the live stream here and make sure that they're down there for you. You can find all of that over at the Smart Drive Test website. So social driving, I've talked about social driving. Driving is a social activity. We have to get along with other people. We have to observe correctly. We have to communicate effectively. And this is one of the things that I say, the fundamentals of communication, the fundamentals of observation are: every time you change direction of the vehicle, signal. Every time you change directions of the vehicle, shoulder check, shoulder check, shoulder check, and observe. And Joe and I were talking about a couple of weeks ago about the Smith-based cushion system. One of the keys of the Smith-based cushion system is keep your eyes moving. And I somehow ended up on one of the videos from the Smith-based cushion system in 1950. And it was Harold Smith showing you how to move your eyes while you're driving. And I've had a go at people about this. And actually, I have a video here. Corey will put that up for you about seeing. You actually have to move your head. Your whole head. You just can't move your eyes in your skull to be able to observe when you're driving. You have to move your whole head. So one of the things, one of the tenets of social driving is that it unites us as a human race, regardless of race, religion, politics, whatever our views are on all of the taboo topics that we shouldn't talk about in the world. I'm a good driver. Most people will agree with that in terms of social driving. The other thing about social driving is that because I'm a good driver, everybody else is a bonehead. And have you ever noticed that when you're driving, that people driving faster than you are boneheads and the people driving slower than you are knuckleheads? So I'm a good driver. I'm doing the right thing. And for many drivers, if other drivers are cutting them off or going too slow, those types of things, they're going to be reactionary, and they're going to be retaliatory. Reactionary because oftentimes they're not managing space effectively around their vehicle. And this was the same comment about Philadelphia there, about her boyfriend teaching her to close up her space. No, don't close up your space. Actually increase your space, because that's going to keep you safer. And in fact, it's going to reduce congestion. And many drivers who don't have a whole lot of experience with traffic safety are going to say, no, that's not true. It is in fact true. If we had more space around our vehicles, we would be able to reduce congestion in our urban areas. Drivers are reactionary. They follow too close. They stop too close in traffic, and they stop too close to other road users along the roadways. How many times those of us who are pedestrians have walked across the crosswalk and the car is like right there, 1 foot away from us. And if there's one thing I don't trust drivers. You know, I like driving, I love drivers, but I don't trust them, especially as a pedestrian when I am a vulnerable road user. I do not trust drivers. Never do I step out in front of a car unless I got eye contact and making sure that they're coming to a stop. So drivers follow, and if you do something wrong, or drivers perceive that you are doing something wrong or violating the culture of driving, they follow too close, they stop too close, and they will give you the finger, they'll honk their horn, flash their lights, and they'll tailgate you. This is one of the other things. If they think that you are going too slow along a roadway and it's single lane, they will tailgate you to tell you that you are going too slow. And then often the person in front slows down in retaliation to the person who's tailgating them, which is what you shouldn't do. And now we're in this kind of standoff between two drivers driving down the roadway, and it's dangerous. So, retaliatory. We're going to get back at you. We're going to make you pay for being an idiot driver. That's what happens when we're driving in the arena of social driving. Now, merging. And I had this question from my beloved last week, and I knew that it was one of those questions, does my bum look fat in these pants? Where if a woman asks a man that question, you should really just go away for 3 or 4 days to your man cave or wherever you go to do that and not come back. And I knew that I shouldn't have said anything. But, you know, this is what I do for a living. And anyway, she was asking me about merging and who had the right of way. And I said, well, you know, the onus of responsibility is on the merging driver. Well, that didn't really fly. And, you know, somebody wouldn't move over, somebody didn't slow down, and they were driving right beside her as she was coming out onto the highway. And I said, well, you know, you just kind of had to let off the throttle and let them go in front of you, and then you could have merged in behind them. But, you know, then the fight was on, right? So, onus of responsibility is on the merging driver, and this is where we get into the dead right thing, because people think, oh, I can just merge out there and people will let me in, people have to move over. No, people don't have to move over, and people don't have to slow down. It's up to you as the merging driver to get your vehicle up to speed. Now, if you do get out there and you're halfway down the acceleration ramp and people are not letting you in, you've got your signal on, then you need to squeeze left. You need to ask them and kind of request ferociously that you want to get out on the roadway. So, you need to work together. And this is another thing about looking farther down the road, looking for the on-ramps, looking for the off-ramps as you're driving along the interstates and freeways, so that you can say, hey, there was a vehicle coming out there. Hey, is it clear for me to get over? Oh, this car will go past me and then I can move over. Or you need to slow down 2 or 3 miles an hour. Because if the person on the on-ramp is doing what he or she should be doing, which is getting their foot into it and getting the vehicle going, if you let your foot off the throttle just 2 or 3 miles an hour, that's enough for them to get up to speed and then get going. So, merging onto highways, freeways, merging anywhere in the city, coming off slip lanes, those types of things. Sometimes, yes, you can be right, but you can be dead right, and you need to just let your foot off the throttle, let the other vehicle go in front of you, and then pull in behind them. And if it's a big truck, a semi-truck, then I guarantee that's exactly what you need to do when you're merging out onto the highway or freeway. Okay, speeding. This is another one that gets people's knickers in a knot. Okay, faster than the posted speed limit, faster than the traffic flow, driving faster than me or driving faster than the conditions of the road will allow. There is no definitive definition of what speeding is because people interpret speeding differently, and there's all these kinds of different interpretations of speeding. Yes, we're all going above the posted speed limit because, you know, as I've talked to you about before, the main highway between Vernon and Kelowna here is Highway 97, and it's posted 90 kilometers an hour, but everybody on that road does 110 kilometers an hour. Everybody. But if you're doing 120, 130, does that mean you're speeding? Or does it mean you're speeding when you're doing 110? Yes, if you take the hard line that 90 kilometers an hour is the posted speed limit, and that's what the definition of speeding is, then everybody's speeding on that roadway. But that's the traffic flow. If they're driving faster than the traffic flow, then are they speeding, or is it just because they're going faster than you? Or as Tim says, driving faster than you can brain, faster than you can think ahead of what's happening. And again, I come back to the leading cause of crashes is the mismanagement of speed and space. Because if speed was a cause of traffic crashes, we would have more crashes on highways than we have in cities. But that's not the fact. That's not the reality. The reality is we have more crashes in the city than we do on the highways. It's because of the mismanagement of speed and space. We're not managing space effectively with our speed. Reactionary and retaliatory, this is the way that most people drive. They will crowd you, they will honk at you, they will give you the finger, tell you you're number one. They will road rage, and they will tell you that you are in my way, you are being a bonehead, and you are not driving according to the rules of the road, at least their perceived rules of the road. And we'll talk about left-hand turns here a little bit, and what some people have road raged and told me that, in fact, yes, you need to get into the intersection, and if you don't, I'm going to get out of my car and I'm going to pound you. Okay? So, following too close, failing to give the right of way, these are the top reasons for traffic crashes. In other words, the mismanagement of space and failing to give it up, especially when you're merging, to just kind of pull in behind the other vehicle, let the other vehicle go ahead of you. Because most of the time, when you're merging out onto a freeway or interstate, you're merging on a multi-lane road. You just pull in behind them and then get out in the next lane and then go past them. That's all you need to do. So, I'm right, you're wrong. This is the way that people see it. And too many people see driving in a black and white world. There's no gray area. They fail to see that gray area of driving. And the gray area is the place where you can be proactive and you can significantly reduce your chances of being involved in a crash. So, oftentimes, you can be right or you can be dead right. So, good luck in your driver's test, and remember, pick the best answer, not necessarily the right answer. So, we'll head back over here. Bear with me. There we go. All right, so Tim says more points of conflicts in urban areas. Absolutely. So again, as Tim said, more points of conflicts in cities. Absolutely, because, you know, there's many more fixed objects. We're much closer to buildings, especially if you get some of these old colonial cities like Boston and New York City. When you get down into Manhattan, or you get into Queens, you get into Paris, France, or you get into London, England. These were not cities that grew up with the motor car. Not like Calgary, Alberta, which grew up with the motor car and there's freeways everywhere, or Los Angeles, California, where it grew up with the motor car and there's freeways and streets, wide streets everywhere. So if you have that, you have less points of conflict, exactly what Tim was saying. Also, you have more traffic put into a confined area in urban areas. So therefore, people mismanage space and there are more crashes in cities. Whereas you get out on the highways, there's a lot more space. People tend not to drive as close together. They still tailgate and do all those other things, but there aren't as many crashes on highways and interstates and freeways. And freeways have a whole other set of characteristics that reduce the number of crashes there on those types of highways. Elevator says everybody speeds in construction zones. Elevator, everybody speeds, period. Regardless of whether it's construction areas or whether it's in cities or whether on highways or freeways or interstates, everybody speeds. Everybody drives above the posted speed limit. Richie, had you ever crossed onto an intersection right as the yellow light quickly turned red before because there was already a lot of cars are taking up the crosswalk space right in front of you? Richie, there's lots of times where because when I wait at an intersection, front steer tires in the front crosswalk line. So I'm at the edge of the intersection, committed to the left turn. As soon as that light goes yellow, I start driving straight into the intersection, and sometimes the traffic on the other side doesn't stop until the light goes red. So then I'm turning on the red light. But I have to go because I'm at the edge of the intersection and I'm committed to that intersection. So left-hand turns. The couple of videos that I released on saying stay out of the intersection, there has been a lot of controversy. And it's probably 50-50. 50% of people are like, yes, drive deep into the intersection and get as many vehicles through the intersection as you can. And there are traffic laws that support that. City of Los Angeles, City of New York. And actually, if you look at the video with Sam, when we did the driving test in the Bronx, he actually assigned me a couple of demerits points because I wasn't in the intersection. I was waiting at the edge of the intersection to proceed with the left turn. So there are laws that support you moving into the intersection. However, for my own safety, I will not move and sit in the intersection. I will sit at the edge of the intersection, which is usually the front steer tires in the front crosswalk line, because more than 40% of crashes happen in intersections. Because more than 40% of crashes happen in intersections, you don't want to be in that intersection. I don't care what people think about congestion. And the other thing is if you're sitting there, you're waiting, the light goes yellow, and you start to move straight ahead, the other traffic comes to a stop. Another vehicle behind you can get through the intersection too. You're not going to get any more cars through that intersection on the red light. Because if another car comes through behind you and another car after that, say a third car decides it's going to come too, that third car is running the red light. And essentially the second car is running the red light anyway. And then, of course, people in the city of Los Angeles or Boston or New York City or wherever, whatever congested city you're going to be talking about, will say, well, you'll never get through the intersection if traffic is congested. How often is traffic really that congested? In all the years I've been driving, all the years, I have probably seen congestion like that maybe 3 times. And that was in Toronto, Ontario, Canada, Atlanta, Georgia, and in New York City, in Manhattan, and in the Queens. I saw it in Queens as well. It's 3% of the time. So most of the time, you can stay out of the intersection and you can move through safely without sitting in that intersection. So that's my point of view. Yadira, are there any websites or apps to identify the areas where most accidents occur? Yadira, most of the authorities that do traffic crunch those numbers. ICBC, for example, can give you a list of intersections where there's the most number of crashes. And I suspect in the United States, it's the DOT that will give you that information. They have a list of all of the intersections where there's the highest number of crashes. So, yes, that information is available. Tim, have a great dinner, my friend. All the best. Beninga, I'm a new driver in highway. How do I shoulder check when changing lanes at 100 kilometers an hour? Thanks. Beninga, same thing you do in the city. It's just to hold the steering wheel straight, quick shoulder check, because you don't want to do it slow, because if you go like this, what's going to happen is the car is going to turn. Okay? So it's a quick shoulder check, just like that. Boom. Back, looking ahead. Same thing when you're changing lanes on highway speeds. Okay, signal on, boom, shoulder check. Check your mirrors. Okay, way is clear. Look forward again. Beat out my line, hold my steering wheel, boom, shoulder check, clear, and then start to change lanes, okay? Minimum 3 flashes on the signal before you start moving over into the other lane, okay? Elevator, I caught a driver turning left on a red arrow on my dash cam in Lafayette, Indiana. Elevator, you're going to get that a lot. You're going to catch a lot of people running traffic lights and all kinds of things. I was actually walking a week ago downtown, and the emergency vehicle was coming through on the left, and a car just come right through the intersection. It was a good thing that the ambulance almost came to a stop before they moved into the intersection. But this person didn't see anything. Didn't see the ambulance, and then just like drove through the intersection. And actually, they got through the intersection and they saw that the ambulance had come to a stop, and they kind of veered out like this to go around the ambulance. It was just like, that's one of those situations, because, you know, sometimes emergency vehicles will catch us unawares. It's like, oh, wait a minute, there's the emergency vehicle. We don't see it, right? So all of a sudden it's like, oh, there's the emergency. That's a situation where you should just stop. Just stop. It's like, oh, there's an emergency vehicle. Stop and let the emergency vehicle go and then proceed again. That's one of those traffic situations that you definitely should stop. 75, spacing helps in many instances, such as multiple moves before being performed ahead, avoiding construction areas and driver's head doing unorthodox moves. Yes, absolutely. Beninga, thank you so much for the super chat. That is awesome, my friend. And if, you know, all the other smart drivers out there want to make super chat donations, or you want to make a donation to the channel, if you're watching on the replay, you can do that as well. That is always appreciated. And if you want more information, we can definitely help you with that. And Beninga, there's also changing lanes video. Have a look at that, because I do, and go out to the end of the video, the last kind of quarter of the video. I show you how to change lanes on the highway, and that will help you out as well. John, my friend, who has the right of way when merging lane signs? Okay. It's usually the vehicles in the lane that is proceeding through. The lane that is ending, those are the drivers that have to give way to the other drivers on the road that is going through. So the road that's going through, drivers have the right of way. The right of way, again, I caution you on that, and I dislike that term, right of way. I have the right of way, I can go. No, you need to work together. Driving is a social activity, and you know, you just let off the throttle a little bit and the other person's accelerating, they can get in front of you, or you just let off the throttle a little bit and you move in behind that other vehicle. We need to work together as drivers. That's what we need to do. And Corey's put up that video. Thank you so much for that, Corey. Elevator fan, I am always a defensive driver if someone cuts me off. Yes, and it's just give it up, right? A couple of seconds. What's that out of your life? It's not a big deal. And that's all we need to do in most situations to just keep ourselves safe. Lion, relaxing is one of the best things you can do, in my opinion. Time slows down when you're not stressed out. That is absolutely true. If you can drive relaxed. I'm probably one of the most relaxed drivers. I'm just like, you know, chilling. Got my space in front of my vehicle, and you know, relaxed, reading the traffic situation. And I see people, because I love watching drivers in cars while I'm walking through the city, going to the grocery store and those types of things. And I see people in cars, and they're like white knuckled like this, both hands on the steering wheel. They're just like, and their teeth are clenched, they're sweating, their eyes are like, It's like, how can you be comfortable driving like that? You know, it doesn't look comfortable at all. And I see a lot of people who are very stressed out, and it doesn't surprise me that we have crashes because of these people who are very stressed out when they're driving. Forum saying thanks for all your content, Rick. Mention would be much appreciated. Forum, you're most welcome, my friend. 231, on a one-way lane when you can pass someone who's going a bit too slow. One-way lane. What do you mean by one-way? Are you talking about like a one-way street? Is that what you're talking about? If you're talking about a one-way street, then yes, you can definitely pass people for sure when you're driving. All right, I was just seeing if, 75. As a driving instructor in New York, I use spacing and distancing my vehicle to give me a comfortable reactionary time. Yes, and when you have space, 75, you're not reacting at all. You're simply reading traffic, and you're responding to the traffic situation. I mean, watch some of Sam's video, Big Mac Sam. I mean, Sam maintains that space in front of his vehicle, and New York is much more crowded than Philadelphia. And because he's maintaining that space in front of his vehicle, he's able to give himself time to read the traffic situation in front of him. And this is what you need, right? Speed is distance over time. If we can control distance, then we have more time. We have more time to operate the vehicle. We have more time to read the traffic situation in front of us. We have more time to make decisions about what we're going to do, what is our best course of action to keep ourselves safe and to reduce the risk of being involved in a crash. And we have time to respond appropriately, because all of this stuff takes time. And that's what we need when we're driving, because speed is distance over time. Time is the magic ingredient to being a proactive driver. And to have time, we control space. And you know, in these large congested cities, New York City, Philadelphia, Los Angeles, any of the cities in Europe, other places in the world, the only place most of the time that we can control space is in front of our vehicle. And if we can control that space in front of our vehicle, we have more time to respond accordingly. Forum, keep your basics right and stay confident. You'll come out with flying colors. Awesome. Thank you for that encouragement. Rosie, you're going to do awesome. Remember to breathe in through the nose, out through the mouth. Breathing is going to cause your body to relax, okay? A little bit of fear is good. You know, if we're a little bit afraid that we're not going to pass, but that's good because that keeps us sharp, right? So, Corey, keeping healthy space was the secret sauce of a largely stress-free road trip to BC and back, and that is awesome, Corey. Corey had a great trip out here. Was attending his brother's wedding, so that was awesome. Elevator, I've been tailgated and I always feel pressured. And elevator, yes. And the other piece about being tailgated that I haven't talked about in the past, which is a key ingredient of proactive driving when other drivers are following too close, focus on what you're doing. First and foremost, don't get distracted by other drivers. Don't get pressured by other drivers. Excuse me. Do what you think is right, okay? So focus on what you're doing. Don't change your speed. Don't slow down, okay? Just keep a consistent speed and keep going. Know that they're there, but slowly increase your following distance in front. That way you could drive your vehicle for them, the bonehead behind you that's tailgating you, and you can drive your own vehicle. Now, if you have a place that you can pull over and let them go by, then do that. If it's a multi-lane road, then eventually they're just going to go around you and carry on, right? And that's all you can do for people who are tailgating you. So know that people are going to tailgate you, but they're not going to be there for very long, because if they're tailgating you, they want to go around you, right? It's like people who take the space up in front of your vehicle. They're not going to be there for very long. They're going to tailgate you for maybe 5 minutes at most, and then they're going to try and pass you. If you can get off somewhere and let them go by, then let them do that and whatnot. So that's what you need to do for tailgating. Richie, thank you so much for the super chat, my friend. That is awesome. One time I was driving to the grocery store early in the morning, and this dog came out of nowhere running through the traffic while going 50 miles an hour, and I hit the brakes just in time. It was a scary experience, and it is when you know, there's a near miss with an animal, because I've had animals that I've hit. Seemed to be a lot of kangaroos in Australia that got hit, and unfortunately one of them didn't die on impact, and we had to take care of it. And you know, if you do have an animal that you hit, please don't leave it there alive. You do have to please dispense of it. If you can't do it yourself, if you can't get a rock and kill the animal, put it out of its misery, then you know, call the SPCA or call somebody else, the police department or whoever, and they will come out and do that for you. But you know, please don't leave an animal suffering that you've hit with a car. You know, because unfortunately it happens, right? It's inevitable that it happens. So know that. 75, thank you, Rick. Speed equals distance over time. Yes, you are most welcome, my friend. Night sports, Mr. Rick, what is the legal limit to drive in a road test? Okay, night sports, driver's test, posted speed limit, or the flow of traffic, whichever is less. So most of the time you're going to drive the posted speed limit, but if the flow of traffic, if there's construction or whatnot, then you need to keep up with the flow of traffic. So flow of traffic, posted speed limit, whichever is less for the purposes of a driver's test. Now, the other thing about speed management for the purposes of your driver's test, you have a forward scanning pattern. So you're looking far down the road, you're looking in the cabin at the instrument panel, far down the road, checking your center mirror, far down the road, and then each wing mirror. You're doing that every kind of 12 to 15 seconds while you're driving. You're scanning, okay? That scanning pattern is tied into your speed management. So yes, you can go a couple of miles an hour above the posted speed limit or a couple of miles an hour below the posted speed limit, but in keeping with your scanning pattern while you're driving in a forward motion, you should also be adjusting your speed. So you should be adjusting your speed every 10 to 15 seconds. And if you're not doing that, that tells the driving examiner that you don't have your forward scanning pattern in place. So those two things are linked, okay? They dovetail together like this. Forward scanning pattern and your speed management. Those two things go together. Beninga, I put in practice what you're teaching in left turns. I never go into the middle of the intersection. I just put the front wheels on the front crosswalk line. Awesome. Okay, Joe, agree 100% about staying relaxed. It's like your brain has a limit. The more you allow to fill up with strong emotions, the less room is available for calm problem-solving abilities. And that is exactly true what Joe is saying and what Turkey Lion are saying about being relaxed. I mean, I do martial arts, as you know. I study jiu-jitsu. And you get put in some pretty uncomfortable positions in jiu-jitsu when somebody's trying to break your limbs or choke you out. But, excuse me, if you can stay relaxed in those uncomfortable positions, you're more likely to come out in a favorable position than if you just kind of tense up. Because when you tense up, then you can't move anymore. You're not considering your options. And it's the same thing with martial arts. You have to consider your options. You have to stay relaxed and be able to consider your options and then move forward with the best course of action. And it's similar, completely similar to driving and driving well. Jesse, do you have to use the emergency brake every time you stop at the red light in an automatic? No, you don't. The only time that you need to use the parking brake, Jesse, is when you park the vehicle. You apply the parking brake every time you park the vehicle. Joe Wu, hello Rick. Are you still in Vernon? Are you available for driving test lessons? I've been watching your vlogs. Thanks for this. Joe, yes, still in Vernon. Not doing driving lessons in vehicle, and I just don't have time right now. And also the fact on Thursday, and thank you for reminding me of this, I'm leaving for 3 weeks to go to Ontario to visit my folks. It's the annual trek out there. And I have tried in the past to work there. My mom doesn't have internet. The internet at the library, I think, is one step above dial-up, if anybody remembers dial-up internet. And in the past, I've tried doing it. I've tried tethering my phone to my computer. I've tried making it all work. And it just doesn't work. So for most of August, there won't be any live streams. I'll be back on the 27th. So after that, there will be live streams. So we're off for 3 weeks on a break. And I think I'm just going to go home and I'm going to relax a bit. And I'm going to work on my next book that I'm working on. So that's what I'm going to do when I'm home. So there won't be any live streams for 3 weeks. Okay, because of that. Turkey, yeah, okay, we talked about that. Excellent. Mallory, on one of the main highways here in Nova Scotia, we have an exit where you were not allowed to turn left. That is a two-way stop. Just wondering if anybody else has an exit off the highway like that. Mallory, there are a number of intersections, not as many as you would think, but in some mostly downtown areas where they restrict turning, and left turns or right turns for that matter are not permitted for reasons of congestion or whatever other reason. Most of the time, off the main highway downtown here where I live, you're not allowed to turn left simply to reduce congestion during busy times. Now, the other thing about prohibiting turns, oftentimes they're prohibited only during rush hour. So say from 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. you're not allowed to turn left. Or in the afternoon from 4 until 6 or something like that. So that's the other time that they're going to limit turns. Atharv, there we go. What do I do if there is a small truck carrying something I can't see at night? So what is it? I'm not sure. You're asking me what you can't see what cargo is in the truck in front of you. unless it's not secured, I don't know how that would be a concern for you. I'm not sure what you're asking me. Wyatt, examiners in my area seem to be a bit chill, more passive. Heck, most people do the 60-hour driving log from COVID still, so they don't view the road test as critical anymore. Excuse me. Turkey Lion, I play video games, so I guess I'm a kind of natural at staying relaxed. Awesome. Beninga, I hope one day you can come to Toronto to make some videos. Beninga, gonna try. Like I said, it's busy right now. I've got some private consulting work that I'm working on right now, so that's fairly busy. But you know, it's all good, and we're working on the Scope 3, the Smarter Defensive Driving Model. We're going to get that going here and get that up in a course and available for people to help them to become safer, smarter drivers and get them on the road and driving safely. And you know, it's all about managing space in front of your vehicle and stopping behind traffic with that one vehicle length between your vehicle and the vehicle in front of you. So know that. Wyatt, I was saying that because I think it's dangerous for everyone on the road. Are you saying that because people simply put in their driving hours now they don't have to take the test? Wyatt, is that what you're saying? Jesse, will my examiners for the end test take me to a roundabout? Jesse, there's a possibility. I would go on Google and the test center where you're going to be taking your test, see if there's a roundabout 5 or 10 minutes kind of out from the test center. If there is, then you're going to have to go through a roundabout. Here in Vernon, if you're taking your test here, you're definitely going to go through a roundabout here. So you can figure that out on Google for sure. Joe, Rick, most driving instructors still teach students that the right-of-way is something you should always be prepared to yield if it's safer to yield than to take it? Joe, I like to think that most driving instructors teach students that the right-of-way is always given. It is never taken, right? You can't take the right-of-way. And this is the other piece, you know, thank you for reminding this, that you can't take the right-of-way. If somebody else is going to go there, then you're going to risk a crash if you don't give it up. So you cannot take the right-of-way. You may have the right-of-way, but only because other road users gave it to you. So there are road rules, and then there's what really happens. And your best defensive posturing is sometimes to just let off the throttle and let the other person go first. Let the pedestrian go first and wait for them. You know, it doesn't take any time out of your day to be nice to other people. It doesn't take any time out of your day to prevent being involved in a crash, right? I mean, what's 20 seconds? And most of the time, it's only that amount of time, okay? Forum, how often do you live sessions like this one, Rick? Just helps a lot staying in touch with your content through an interactive session like this one. Forum, most of the time it's once a week, but as I just said, I'm going away here for 3 weeks to Ontario, and I'm going to visit the Luddites who don't really have internet, and it doesn't really work through my phone, so you know I won't be back until the end of August now. But definitely get me through email, rick@smartdrivetest.com, and we'll do what we can to help you out for sure. Rosie, hey, I have a question. Is reverse parking and parallel parking is compulsory in G test? Rosie, are you taking the full G test or you're taking your final test? Because they have temporarily suspended those from the full G license in the province of Ontario. You don't have to do those anymore. You just have to go on road and do your driving test there. You don't have to do the parallel parking and other slow speed maneuvers for the purposes of passing your driver's license test in the province of Ontario. Wyatt, both of my brothers fudged their logs. A lot of people have been doing that. Wyatt, that is not surprising at all that people are fudging their driving logs and presenting them to the DOT. Mallory, enjoy your live streams. Have a great trip to Ontario. Thank you so much, Mallory. Adharv, I'm talking about a truck towing a truck with no lights. Oh, okay. Well, that is completely illegal. Tow trucks have to put lights on the back of the cars that they're towing. So if you have a truck that doesn't have any lights on the back of it, they're doing something dodgy. and they can be pulled over by police. But again, maintain your distance around your vehicle, keep yourself safe, don't get right up on them, and that is going to reduce your chances of being involved in a crash. Night sports. I had a test yesterday, and the woman who was taking the test told me to turn right. The signal was on, but I stopped a few seconds, and she said you shouldn't have stopped. Is that wrong? Night sports, you don't have to come to a stop if it's a green light and you're going to turn right. Yes, you don't necessarily have to come to a stop as long as you're giving way to pedestrians in the crosswalk and those types of things. If you did stop at a green light, then yes, there is the possibility that they did give you grief for that. Now, were you successful on passing your driver's test, or did you get too many points? Rosie, it's my final test, my final G test. Then yes, Rosie, there's no slow speed maneuvers for your final G test. You just have to go for the drive on the road there in the province of Ontario. Meninga, we will miss you. Have a safe trip. Thank you so much, my friend. Epic, regarding right-of-way on a four-way stop or all-way stop, in some cases you have to let the vehicle on your right go first, then your turn. State and provincial driver manuals don't explain this clearly. Epic, we talked about that at the beginning. Nobody ever does that. Nobody does that. Nobody looks for the vehicle on the right. And Tim and I were talking about that if you come up to the four-way stop sign or all-way stop sign intersection, you see somebody else coming at the same time, just let off the throttle and let them get there first, and then just let them go. Okay, that's what you can do, because nobody does that. Nobody figures out, oh, that vehicle's on the right, they go first. Nobody does that at those kinds of intersections. Rosie, thank you so much for telling me. You are most welcome, Rosie. Now, Rosie, I just want to caution you, make sure that you check, maybe just call the school or call the MTO and ask them that question, because it was a few months ago. I mean, we're into August now, and I believe that was April that they implemented that they're not doing slow speed maneuvers for the final G test. But just confirm that information with the driving school or with the MTO there in Ontario before you show up for your driver's test, okay? Because I wouldn't want you to get there and then they're like, oh, I want you to parallel park here. And then you're like, oh, curse that Rick. He's such a stinker. He's telling me these stories, these just awful stories, and now I got to parallel park and blah, and I'm like, pulling my hair out. And you look like me, and don't have any hair, okay? So just confirm that information. Okay, Wally, I have to thank you. Following your videos helped me pass my driver's test. That is awesome news, Wally. Congratulations on passing your driver's test. That is brilliant. Thank you so much for stopping back and letting us know that you passed. And what did you do to go and celebrate, my friend? Because that's just awesome. Cashew, what would you say the lane to be in is for a 3-lane or higher roadway, not a highway or freeway? Thank you. Oh, Cashew, if you got 3 lanes or more, it's always the middle lane on 3 lanes, or the first, not the extreme right lane, but the next lane over, okay? That's your best defensive, because the cars in the right lane are turning and everybody else wants to go faster and they can pass and those types of things. So if you're in that middle lane, that's your best defensive posturing for driving up and down the road there. Wyatt, see you near the end of the month, my friend. Yes, awesome. Joe, great info this evening. Rick, have a safe trip back home. Have a fabulous week, everyone. Hitter, hi Rick, what do you do when people tailgate you, and if you are doing the speed limit? I get nervous from this. Hitter, sorry. First and foremost, focus on what you're doing. Try not to get distracted by the goofy person who's tailgating you, okay? Increase your following distance in front. If there's a place to pull over and let them go. If you're on a multi-lane road, they're just going to get around you and going to take off, okay? If somebody's tailgating you, they're not going to be behind you for very long because they want to go faster, okay? So know that for the purposes of that. But focus on what you're doing, increase your following distance in front, and don't make any aggressive braking, and that way you're going to be fine. Because like I said, they're tailgating, they want to go faster than you, they're not going to be there for very long. All right. Thank you everybody for the awesome live stream, great participation, awesome questions. Good luck to everybody who's taking a driver's test in August. As I said, I'll be back after the 27th, and we'll get back on the live streams and those types of things. I would love to be able to think that I can go to Ontario and do this, but I've been going there long enough now with this that, you know, we're going to visit the Luddites. And for those of you who don't know who the Luddites are, They were the people that, in the beginning of the Industrial Revolution in the 19th century, broke into textile companies and smashed the steam engines because they hooked them up to the textile looms, and you know, they were fighting progress. So that's where I'm going. Xander, some people don't even give the pedestrians the right of way. You're absolutely right about that. Yes, and what Wyatt says, don't give in to the temptation of other people because other people are pressuring you when they're tailgating you. Groomer, can you explain to clear about stopping for school buses, different scenarios, 2 lanes, 4 lanes when using 4 lanes, no center? Okay, Groomer, if Corey's still here, he'll put up the video for you on school buses, but essentially, if there's a barrier down the middle in most states, except New York likes to be different for whatever reason. If there's a concrete barrier, then you don't have to stop if you're on the other side of that concrete barrier. But if you're behind the bus or in front of the bus, usually they're on 2-lane rural roads, then yes, you have to come to a stop for the school bus within safe distance, 2 or 3 vehicle lengths away from the bus, and stop until the lights stop flashing. All right, so we'll leave it there for tonight. Thank you so much for participating. If you passed your driver's test in the last couple of weeks, congratulations. If you have a driver's test coming up in the next week or so, good luck on that. And remember, pick the best answer, not necessarily the right answer. Have a great night. Bye now.
Ha! I'm still here.
You're still here. No, you're back from here.
No, I'm still here.
There you go. All right. Thanks so much, everybody.
I'm going to fall asleep.